What's up YouTube, and welcome to the Anabolic MMA channel. And today I'm going to break down and give you my prediction for the highly anticipated fight, Dustin Poirier against Nate Diaz. Now this has recently been swirling around as the fight to make. Poirier and Diaz have been going back and forth with each other on Twitter for a while now, and ever since Poirier lost the title fight just in December against Charles Oliveira, the Twitter talking started to heat up even further, and this has been the fight that many have been pushing for, including these two men themselves. And besides being an incredibly good stylistic and grudge matchup here, it is incredibly lucrative for the both of them to take. For Nate, it's obviously a big payday which he can't turn down, and it's also another chance for him to face another very highly ranked opponent and get to the top of the rankings incredibly quickly. And for Dustin, this would be his third straight money fight, probably not as big as the last two, but would still be a pretty big fight for him. And I'm going to get to my prediction here very shortly, but this should be a very easy fight for Dustin, and also a great opportunity to get a name at his resume in a new division. Which also reminds me that for the purposes of this video, we are going to be assuming that this fight happens at 170, because Dustin has been talking about moving up there, as well as he posted recently on his Instagram that he is going through a bulking phase, which presumes that he is bulking up to fight Nate Diaz, and I also don't think that Nate even has the capabilities to cut down to lightweight anymore, so it makes sense that this is going to happen at 170. Before I get to the prediction though, let me break this fight down for you, as we have the number 2 ranked lightweight Dustin Poirier, who is 28-7, going up against the unranked welterweight Nate Diaz, who is 21-13. And because this fight is only rumored right now, there is only one bookie that I could find that has odds for it, but right now the odds sit at -400, with Poirier being the favorite, with Diaz on the comeback at +300. And those odds place Poirier as the pretty big favorite, and I am not surprised that they are that high. But it is also interesting to note that Leon Edwards was -550 before he fought Diaz pretty recently, but I think Diaz's stock went up in that fight, so I think the odds are pretty safe at what they are at right now. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and take a more in-depth look at the underdog, Nate Diaz. Diaz is really the stereotypical tough guy in the UFC, and I think he plays that role perfectly. And that is an incredible confidence to have when you're going into fights. And even if most of your actual fundamental skills are on the ground, at least when you're on your feet, you have the confidence, and you also have a pretty solid chin to back that up as well. Unfortunately, I think if he keeps this on the feet, Poirier is going to outclass him just like Leon did, and it is going to be an ugly 50-45 decision. And that's honestly how I envision this fight playing out. I don't think that Nate is going to take it to the ground, although I do think that might be his key to victory. He's just really in there to just have fun. He really doesn't even care about winning or losing, as we saw in the last fight. He is really as is a natural fighter as they come. And I'm now going to look at his most recent fights, and backing up what I just said, his last submission victory was in March of 2016, which is almost 6 years now, when he defeated Conor McGregor in their first fight. And in the 4 fights after that, none of them were wrestlers, so he really has no excuse to not be going to the ground game more often, and I would actually be surprised if he shot for a takedown against Poirier. He then fought McGregor again in that same year in August in an extremely close majority decision. He had then taken a 3-year layoff from the UFC, and he actually came back and ended up getting a W against Anthony Pettis in August of 2019. Unfortunately, I really don't put a whole lot of weight in that fight. Although it was off of a 3-year layoff and it's pretty impressive to win like that, Pettis has fallen on hard times himself, and Anthony Pettis is really the perfect stylistic matchup for Diaz. He then fought Jorge Masvidal and ended up losing that one as well, although it was a doctor stoppage in the 3rd round. Masvidal was winning that fight the whole way through, and I don't think that he would have won anyway. And then it was another 2-year layoff until he had his most recent fight with Leon Edwards, which I was just talking about earlier. And apart from Nate not really caring about winning or losing at this point in his career, the number one thing that would stray most people from betting on him was all of the layoffs that he has taken, and he hasn't been really active in the UFC as of late, and when he hasn't shown us anything that has been too incredible. And the only thing that he has shown us is wobbling Leon at the end of that fight, but in that same exact moment he showed us that he wouldn't want to win even if he had the chance to anyway. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be the main promotional piece for him when he does fight again, is wobbling a guy in a fight that he embarrassingly lost anyway. And looking at the opposition, we have Dustin Poirier, who is most famous for beating Conor McGregor twice in a row, but recently lost in his most recent fight against Charles Oliveira for the lightweight championship. But we're just going to take a look at his recent fight history, and he has been incredibly active, especially as of late. Starting off, we're going to be looking at him winning the interim lightweight championship against Max Holloway in April of 2019. And if I'm being honest, this might be his most impressive win that I'm going to be talking about for the rest of this video. Even though Holloway was out of his natural weight class, Poirier looked incredibly fluent in this fight and ended up winning the interim lightweight championship. And especially to see where Max Holloway has been since this fight, it is impressive to see that Poirier was able to win this very convincingly. And then obviously after that, he got his first title shot against Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he got submitted in the third round, as most of you know. And then he took a fight against Dan Hooker, which he got into an absolute war with him, but still ended up winning 48-47, just sliding it out by 1 round. And obviously, I think Dan Hooker is a lot better competition than Nate Diaz, especially Hooker 2 years ago. But with that being said, Hooker still hasn't looked great in recent memory, which is why I said earlier that the Holloway win is the most impressive win that I'm going to talk about from here on out. And then that leads me to the next 2 wins, which I'm sure all of you already know about, especially if you're watching this video, where he beat Conor McGregor in both January and July in 2021. And Conor McGregor is an extremely accomplished athlete, and I don't want to take anything away from that, but especially at this point in his career, after all that he's been through and everything that he's been saying recently, I really can't put any sort of weight into either of these fights because it's extremely hard to tell what mental state Conor McGregor is currently in right now. And also to mention the obvious, that he suffered a leg injury in both of those fights, and whether that was caused by Poirier or not, you could really make an argument going both ways on that, but it doesn't take away that McGregor wasn't able to perform to his full potential. And in his most recent fight, he fought for the title and lost to the champion Charles Oliveira. And I don't want to make this entire Poirier analysis sound like he's not that great of a fighter, because all the fights that I just mentioned are against world-class athletes compared to the guys that Nate Diaz has fought and lost. Those guys are still good, but Diaz has not looked even nowhere near the caliber that Poirier has looked recently. Not to mention that Poirier has been incredibly active throughout his entire UFC career, and he has an extensive resume that I'm not able to cover prior to the fights that I just mentioned. And that's why I think Poirier would take this matchup so easily, because he has been fighting the best of the best, not to mention that he has remained incredibly active, especially compared to Nate Diaz, and has also been taking his fights seriously and looking good against all of his opponents. And even though he's coming off of a loss in his title shot, Nate Diaz is nowhere near a title shot, and with him not even taking fights seriously anymore, it's a no-brainer to have this pick. And just to quickly look at this from the betting side of the view, I would honestly go nowhere near this fight. On one side, Poirier is an extremely high favorite at -400, and with Nate Diaz, obviously anything is possible. He has the potential to take Poirier down and win this fight, just like we saw when he wobbled Leon Edwards. Anything is possible, but like we saw with Leon Edwards, he doesn't even want it, even if he has the chance to get the win. And you never know, there might be some big line movement like the last Diaz fight, so if you're looking for a strike price, I'm honestly looking at the -230 range, although I don't think it's even going to come close to this. That's just personally where I'm at right now. I don't want to come anywhere near this fight. That's just from the betting side of view though. Poirier is still an obvious pick. And that is all I got for you guys today. Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz, fight breakdown and prediction. I hope you enjoyed my analysis and agreed with my prediction, and if you have any other matchups that I want to break down, whether it's recently coming up or it's just a mock matchup that you want to see, comment them down below and I might just do a video on it. And that is actually kind of my plan. I don't know if this is exactly how it's going to go, but it's looking like it's going to be one breakdown and prediction video, one matchmaking video, and then one other video where I do some sort of list, all in 1 week, and every week I'll be doing the same 3 style of video. If you did enjoy this video, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.